hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Back at it again. The really game dev, I guess. It's related to game dev. Although this time I'm no longer, or I guess for this one stream, I'm not going to be standing up like I usually do since my ankles are fricked. Look at that. Let me see. I think I did say I was going to try to show off some other just random models. At least on the Discord. Let me see if I can make this work. Let me see if I can make this work. It's downloading. It's zipping the file. Although I think to think about how it will work. I'm not actually sure. Show in folder. Good thing I did not show this on stream because this has my taxes in it. Probably don't want to show that. So 7-zip, extract to local. Grab this OpenC face. Oh. Gotta think about this. Alright. Looks good to me. Anyways. Oh, don't show this either. That's my Google Drive. Alright, here we go. Let's get started. Let me see. I can probably figure this out. It's GDML. I think did the last release of OpenC Face? Oh, it didn't. Yeah, it did not add support for SCN files, and I'm not super willing to to build that in. So I don't think it'll be possible for me to do this stuff without re-exporting the entire application, or at least switching the branch back to master and then doing it like that. It's okay. We'll figure it out later. That's okay. Output. That's fine. Script templates. So where we're at right now is I have completely refactored pretty much everything inside of this application. Look at that. It's beautiful. We have all kinds of stuff, really. All kinds of stuff that are possible. But what I'm about to do is rewrite how it works once again. Because I was thinking about it. I was doing some thinking like I usually do. And I think I should actually just one last time. Final rewrite, because I'm realizing that recursion is probably not the greatest strategy to make this work. So, move the mic a bit closer to me. Alright. Yeah, so this is still a to-do. We could do this with an offset instead of looking through every single node. and then checking, yeah, instead of just looking against, comparing against each node location, we could just insert at every single bad location. So generate layout. Well, let's fix that. Let's fix that now. That's not too hard to do. So fixed node stack, and then there's the offset. So I think we start with a fixed offset of 1, and then we'll add 2. Insert offset will be equal to all right, hold on. So if you're given a file, given some points that look like, you know, all of these, given these indices, so if I insert a node here, so if we try to insert at 1, all right, actually this should be like open, close, open, close. So then we have 2 things that we need to insert at. So we've identified 1 and 4 as the insertion, or as basically as the insertion, well, insertion points, right? So we don't want to insert at 1 because that would push, what that would do would be to push it like that. So we want to do 1 plus 1, boom. But then 4, 1, 2, 3, whoa, 0, wait, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we want to increment the offset by 2, right? Because we identified 1 and 4 as the insertion points, or I guess the points, the tags that were missing closing tags, shall we say. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 is missing a tag, so we insert at 1 plus 1, so close. Then 4 was missing a tag, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we need to increment by 1, and then by 1 again. So it's whatever our offset is, or it's whatever our position is plus the offset. So if you had 2 opens like that, so these are just hanging, shall we say. So that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 4, 5. 1. I think something's wrong with my logic here, but what we could just do is just add 2 every single time, 2 to the insert offset every single time. There's a logical fallacy somewhere. I'm thinking about this incorrectly, but the math checks out anyways. Which is my favorite kind of problem solving, is that it's academically incorrect, but the solution fixes the problem anyways. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We add 2 to it. So we insert a close tag at here. So 4, 5, 6. Right, so then here, oh, hello, Gareth, hello. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then 1, 2, 3, hold on. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe I should just be... No, this plan does not scale up past 2. Hold on. So given something like this, because it's don't save that. So we're checking against like this, and then we always want to insert using the location +1 or whatever we calculate. So it'll be the node data location plus the insert offset +1, right? So this is 1, 4, 5. So at location 1 plus the insert offset, this is 4, this is 5, plus the insert offset, which is 0 plus 1. So insert there, close, which then shifts everything up 1. So that increases our insert offset to 1. So then we check against every single node. So these are actually tagged to the node. I don't actually recalculate it every single time, which is why I'm struggling with this in my head. But what we would be doing is doing insert offset. If node data location plus insert offset. Oh, hold on, no. No. Ooh. Hold on. No, that's also wrong because I can't do it like that. Let's start typing this and I'll figure it out. So for node data in hanging open node indices, or that's a node, that's the index. So for index and hanging open node indices, so it will be, actually, yeah, no, this is where I should be using it. So the insert offset. And so then we don't even need this fixed node stack. We can just use the old node stack. So node stack insert at index plus the insert offset +1 question mark. Oh, can you not do this? Identifier expected after 4. Oh, you can't do that. All right, so have to do it like this. So if, oh, okay, we can see if index plus insert offset. And by the way, Gareth, if you're still around, over, maybe you've already left, but doesn't matter. I'll still explain it anyways. This is what I'm doing. If I take this out, it should just work. Yeah, actually, this is already what I'm doing. So this entire scene, it's just a test scene, which is why it's super ugly. But it's, oh, hello, you're still there. So usually you would define all of this in the editor. So then you would basically place everything that you see here kind of manually. So you create all the nodes, etc., etc. But instead, what I'm doing is I am writing a library, so it's you can do like HTML style layouts and even like script attachments, so it's very much like JavaScript. Basically like an HTML web page. How nice. And so you can see that we have like some complicated logic like this. So this is the hello button. So go back to the console. Press hello, we get like unbutton down, it prints true. When you finally, finish the press, so if you just button down, nothing happens, but if you button down, button up, it triggers this callback. So it's also extremely like Angular style, where Angular is Google's, web framework. How neat. Yeah, now you can leave. Now that I have sufficiently bored you, you have my permission to leave. I'm almost done with it though. This is the second. Well, I've rewritten it once, and then I'm gonna rewrite it. I still have to refactor certain parts of it because it is still pretty garbage. Yeah, I remember I was asking a question on the Godot Discord, like how would I do a UI library, or has anyone tried doing a UI library like this, and then got absolutely nothing. Actually, it was completely buried afterwards by a slew of just inane questions. So I was like, all right, well, all right, sure. It's okay with me. So this, and then we'll insert. All right, hold on. We need to do this. I'll be lurking still. Oh, thank you, thank you. Much appreciated. Thank you for helping to boost my metrics. Much appreciated. Close node, copy as close. This needs to be node stack index plus insert offset. Or we might as well just pre-calculate it once, right? So offset adjusted index insert offset plus index adjusted index, and then this one is just the adjusted index plus 1, just so I can keep it in my head. Is this not how you use insert? Are you not allowed to do that? Is there no insert for just a regular array? No, there is array insert. Array insert position value variant. Okay, cool. Close node. What is your problem? Expected. Ooh. Oh, it's this one. Okay. So here, let's run through this logic. So we won't be using this anymore. We'll be actually returning the regular node stack. So for index and hanging open node indices, so I have these numbers here. So we go index 1. We grab the adjusted index, which is 1 plus 0, copy as close. So we generate a new close tag. Then we insert it at 1 plus 1. Amazing. Right. Then we go to 4. This is now adjusted to 5, basically. And then this is now 6. So we go to, but our adjusted, or our insert offset is now 1. Oh, hold on. I need to do insert offset plus 1. Plus equals 1. Right. So now we do 4. It's actually 5 now, because we do index plus insert offset, which we've incremented by 1. 5, insert at 5 plus 1, 6, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. Which then bumps everything up. This is now 7. That's not how you do 7. 7. And then we have our insert offset at 2. Okay, yeah. I think that logic is good. Or at least I've convinced myself it's good. I think that's okay. So we can actually try that again and see if it breaks. Oh baby, it still works. Okay, cool. And we're able to hook up everything. We're also able to adjust internal state, or we're able to store internal state, which is kind of weird as well. So it's not completely centrally managed. Basically, like, it's not an immediate mode UI. Each component can store state. So we don't need this anymore. I think I've solved this. Assign depth here as well for TCO. All right, I need to adjust this. But before that, I do need to push. Git status. This is pretty good, I think. Don't know what the diff is for Project Godot. Oh, it's just the line endings. Fantastic. So git commit. Just how missing close tags are inserted. No longer processes the entire array again. Beautiful. Generate layout. That's already been changed, but I think the tags, yeah, we don't need to keep track of the children and parents anymore, although it is helpful as debug information. Yeah, now all we need to do is pay attention to the depth, right? Oh, and then I should also like actually assign the depth. I realized I did not do that. So we have location, and then we have the depth. I don't think we need to have this anymore, so we'll just take this out. This is gonna break stuff, which is fine. Up, we don't need to do anything. Down, we do. Current root, current tag. So tag depth will be equal to current depth. When we go down, we don't need to store the children and the parent. Yeah. So we don't do anything with the tag, right? Yeah. Current tag. Yeah, I think we're good. We just need to assign the depth. And then when we go up, that means that we hit a close tag, but that's okay. But that means that the generator now needs to be... The generator needs to be adjusted now. And you know what? We can make this even better by doing it like this. So this no longer takes a no data, this takes a p name, string, p attributes, which is the dictionary, and then p text, which is a string. Beautiful. There's your name, there's your attributes, there's your text. Oh, and then this needs, oh, then we also need to have the location, which is an integer. Oh, and the depth. Depth. All right, there we go. So that should be a bit more efficient as well, since we no longer need to preload anything. All right, this one will be tough. This one will be tough because I realized that there's a few things I'm missing. So from the previous commits, I should be doing like stack stuff. Bring me back to this commit. I don't remember where I was at this point in time. Was it GDML? So yeah, there was still the concept of a stack. So I actually do need to maintain my own stack here. So I thought I didn't need it, but as it turns out, I totally do. Because the stack lets me know which things are currently in scope or out of scope. So, like, higher level stacks cannot look into lower level stacks because they have no idea what stacks are at the lower level. But lower level stacks, or I say lower level, but I think things that are higher on the stack can look down, but things that are low on the stack cannot look up, which I think is it's a good methodology of, or it's a good way of approaching things, right? So the super stack is just a reference to another stack. I don't think I need to handle the current depth, although maybe I do. Yeah, no, I don't need to handle the current depth because I already pre-processed the current depth. Yeah, but that's our stack, right? So we have the stack above this one, which might be null. And then we have the current stack. So we'll always have a reference to the super root, which is just a control. We'll have a reference to the super stack, which is a reference. Oh, and no, and then we'll also have to have like the GDML root as well. Yeah, that makes sense. So the difference between super root and GDML root is the super root is the, I guess, the kind of the global handler for everything, right? So the script tag at the top does not exist inside a GDML tag, right? So that's basically globally scoped, and that's what the super root is. I guess I should probably call that like global root, but whatever. I'm too far in now. But there's your super root. So there's your super stack, and then we'll also just have your super root. Super root. Well, no, and then super stack, yeah. So yeah, super stack is equal to super stack. So if it's null, then that's fine. And then stack appends GDML root. Yeah. So let's see. Push, pop. Yeah. I'll just re-implement these, right? Because it is supposed to be a stack, but technically it's a reference. So we're wrapping the entire stack for ourselves. Stack append object. Func pop. Give you back an object, so it works almost exactly like an array. Pop back. So we'll return it. Let's call this pushback, just to be consistent. So if stack size is less than or equal to 1, try to pop object from the stack. Okay, so it could be null, or it'll be an actual object. Most of the time I don't actually use the object that I'm popping from the stack, but that's okay. Let's see, get root. So I can almost certainly guarantee that there will always be a root. I think that's okay. Get roots. Func. Get super stack. Return super stack. Yeah, that's fine. Could be null, that's fine. And we can just have helpers, right? So func has super stack. Or like is root stack, basically. Bool. So return not super stack is null. So if super stack is null, actually, yeah. If super stack is null, then this must be the root stack. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't need to have get root, get super stack, because I think that just confuses me. So get root, so if you want to get the root of the super stack, you must get the super stack and then call get root on that, which makes sense to me. And then you could potentially just chain that over and over again. Give me these things again. I like having these. They make me feel better about myself. Especially once I start to get complicated, or once these start to get kind of complicated, right? So most of these, or actually all of these are public functions. So add child. I don't need to have a depth, I think. Yeah, I don't need to have a depth. I just need to, well, at least I don't need to track the depth. Okay. I don't need to track the depth myself because I already pre-calculated it and guarantee that the depth is correct for every single thing. Yeah. So this is add child object is some sort of object, right? So stack. So if it is a node, then we want to check, oh, I guess we do need to, we do need to track it because I don't actually store that information. Oh, good. Depth. So if depth is less than depth. Okay, yeah, I remember now. I remember now. The stack maintains its own depth. It has to work like this, unfortunately. It has to work like that, but here we go. So I'll push it onto the stack. I guess these technically don't need to even exist here though. Like, do I even use these? Where do I use the rest of the stack stuff? Yeah, these don't need to be exposed, although you could totally manipulate this stuff if you wanted to. Okay, well, get ready. Push pop. So I'll push. Well, I like the idea of exposing these. Even though they're not technically used, it could be useful in the future, you know? Well, if depth is equal to the current depth, then what we'll do... So we'll try to pop once. Then we'll return a new thingy here. This is like, it's like bad stack. Return. Oh, actually, we need to do... Hold on. Grab the error. We'll just preload it here. That's fine. Const error. So add child. Else, we'll want to pop twice. We're basically using this as an error code. Now, hold on. Now I need to think about this logically. So given a stack, given a stack that looks like this is the exact logic from the old implementation. But I'm a little mind-flooded. Because I think it still logically does not make all that much sense to me. So given a stack, right? So we have elements, I don't know, just element 1, 2, 3. Always need to do any example with at least 3 elements, otherwise it's invalid. Because 1 and 2 are kind of special numbers, but 3 is not special. So if the current depth is less than the new depth, right? So we can say that this is depth, like say 0, 1, 2. Oh, and then we can even do. Well, actually, no, we don't. All right, so this is at depth 2. So given a new item with a depth of 3, what we would do is we would add the child to 3, or to this item here, item 3, and then we push it onto the stack, right? So this is item 4. Putting my consultant's training to good use. Now for our new item, call it item 5, and then this one is also at depth 3. What we would want to do is pop once, take it off the stack. This is no longer on the stack, and then we would take item 5, add it to item 3 because it's at the same depth, and then push it onto the stack. Yeah. How did I figure this out the first time? That's crazy. Oh man, I'm just a lot smarter than I feel like I get dumber every time I think of something really smart, I get like 10% dumber. And then say that this one is at 2. So this is item 6, or item B, item 6. There we go. Still looks like a B, but that's okay. So this is at stack level 2. What we want to do, is there a hotkey for select? Maybe not. We'll grab this, pop. We'll pop twice. We don't store anything that's been popped because it's already had its child added. Oh, I think this is wrong, isn't it? Wouldn't I want to push this onto the stack? Yeah, wouldn't I want to push this onto the stack? So yeah, we basically always push it onto the stack. It's just how the question is how many things do we pop? Yeah, I think this is wrong actually. Yeah, because what we should do is push this onto it now, so that our depth stays consistent. Right? Yeah, that makes sense. So I think the old code was actually wrong. So we should always push the object onto the stack, no matter what, if it's a node. Then the only question is like how many times do we pop, basically. Yeah. So this is depth greater than depth. Take this out like that. I think that's more correct. And then here the question is, what do I do for this? The old implementation just called add instance, but I don't think that's totally correct. I guess we'll need to check against the stack size. So if stack size is 1, then this means that we are at the roots, or not the root stack, but we are at stack 0. Yeah, then we'll do return get root add instance object, and then we'll need to have a GDML instance descriptor attached to this as well. One of these. So then create instance descriptor. What were the other pieces of code that helped create this? Create instance descriptor. Yeah, this is exactly what I want. It's beautiful. So this requires a tag. This requires a tag. So where do these objects come from? Where do these objects come from? How did I do this before? So here, it creates the object that may or may not be a real thing. Handle elements, and then it just calls generates, and then it manipulates the stack afterwards. So create instance descriptor. It's only used, well, it's used actually in 2 places. So I can here's what I can do. So if it's a script, I know I 100% know that it's if it's a script, I know that it's a script, right? So instance descriptor is a reference. So I don't actually need to create it here. I can create it externally. So we don't need to create it here. Beautiful. And here, we'll just pass this in. Look at that. It is beautiful. So if stack size is equal to 1, then we will add the object to the root stack. We'll call this get stack root. Get stack root. Otherwise, what we'll want to do is actually attach it to the last thing, I guess. So stack, we get the end of the stack. Hold on. Get stack. Get last item. Stack. Get top. Get stack top, which gives you an object. So it's a bit inefficient because these are all just wrappers, right? But get stack top. Var stack top. I actually don't know what this could be because it could be a reference for all I know. Get stack top. This will give you an object. So if it's a node, so if stack top is class node, then that means it can have a script attached to it. Okay, what we can do is this then. Stack top set script object. Because I'm pretty sure I can guarantee that this won't be instantiated yet. Yeah. Yeah. Set script, if this, else, stack top, set meta, this will be null. I guess it's just arg, right? Like it's hard to say what this will be. Instance descriptor. Doesn't instance descriptor just have a name associated with it, or am I crazy? Am I misremembering that? Yeah, I can always just create an instance descriptor every single time, right? Yeah. Well, let's do it like this. Because it's now starting to get pretty long. Stack top, set meta, instance descriptor, get name, objects. Nice. So instance descriptor will try to give me a sensible name, and then the sensible name will always be, I mean, something that's sensible, right? I would hope that the sensible thing is giving me a sensible thing. But that's actually not always true now that I'm thinking about it. How do I calculate the script name? Oh no. Oh no, this isn't, that's not good. I can't use the instance descriptor because it doesn't actually have everything I need. I don't know. What I can do here is just say it's null. And so this is just param. So we'll use a little bit of duck typing here. That's okay. I'm not a huge fan of duck typing, but if we have to use it, we have to use it. I would rather just use function overloading, but that's just me. So depth is the pre-calculated depth of the object's tag. Determines where the helps determine where the object should be placed in the tree. Let's see, objects. The instance to be added. And then param. Param. So this is a duck typed value. Duck typed value that will duck typed value for scripts could be an instance descriptor or a script or a string name. Yeah, okay. I think that's okay. And there's not really a good reason for this to... Oh, no. Yeah, because we do have a few errors. There are just a few bad stack errors, right? Because it's mostly just like the pop commands that throw errors. Okay. Looks good to me. Let's go into here. And also, let's run through this one more time because I still don't trust myself. So here, right? So given this value, we want to push it onto the stack. We push it onto the stack. That's beautiful, right? Then given this option, we say that it's on the same level. I'm actually comparing against this one because the logic is roughly the same, but maybe I shouldn't be comparing against that. It's compared against this. So if the depth is equal, bring me back. So the depth is equal. Wait. So if the depth is equal to the, if the current depth is equal to the new depth, then we pop. Hold on. Bring me back to the very, very first one. So the depth is greater than the previous depth. So the depth is greater than previous depth. So we don't have anything here. So we just add child to this. And then we push it onto the stack. Yeah. Now the next one, the depth is equal to the previous depth. So we pop, add child to the next thing on the stack, and then push it onto the stack. Now, if the previous depth, is greater than the input depth. Oh, hello, Nova. It's going. I'm having to do a few things. One, I'm burning out my retinas by continually flipping between this dark mode UI and then paint. But I'm almost done with this application. It's gonna be sick once I get it working. Oh no. We'll get around to that. I was gonna show it off, but it was working. I probably should fix this. Let me see. Data, node name, data. What things do we need? Tag. The attributes, data attributes, So I always deconstruct it here. Data text, and then there's data location. Data location, yeah, okay. Oh no. It's all the same stuff. Hold on, I can show it off really quickly. I just refactored a bunch of stuff. Ah! Invalid yet children. Oh, okay, well, maybe I can't show it off, but it was working. But what I'm doing is I am tail call optimizing it, because right now it depends pretty heavily on recursion, but GDScript itself is not tail call optimized. It's cool once you see it working, but I would need to stash my changes. I don't really feel like stashing my changes right now. But basically, Godot has a call stack size in GDScript. GDScript has a call stack size of 1024. You can configure that, but this is supposed to be like a plugin. So I can't actually increase the call stack size. But if you tail call optimize it, what you can do is, or what tail call optimization does is basically you unroll your recursion stack. So instead of, how it usually works is I actually call generates over and over again, so it calls itself, so we recurse, right? But instead, what I can do is unroll it. So I maintain an index of every single tag, and then also maintain like a stack, which was what I was working on here. So I maintain a mini stack, and then each mini stack doesn't really recurse on itself, so it just has a reference to the previous stack, so it's closer to a linked list. Yeah, and then we just go by index. So scripts, GDML, script. So we only ever get to a call stack size of 1, I guess, not including anything else that might be calling this, but which is good. It means that I can now handle files of not infinite depth, but depth up to like 2 million instead of depth up to 1,000. Which might seem like overkill, but the idea is that you should be able to do kind of like Ruby on Rails style code insertion as well. So if you want to, I don't know, just write some inline GD script that's executed immediately, that should be possible. So it's like for I in 3, something like that, you would, this is the proposed syntax, it's not the final syntax, but you can do something like for I in 3, and then, add tag whatever, something like that. Add tag label. Right? Something like that. And then it would insert a tag at this depth. So nested under VBox container, you could do something like that. And then that would all be pre-parsed, inserted into basically the AST, abstract syntax tree, which could add a lot of depth to your file, which is kind of cool. It's kind of cool, because that's how Ruby on Rails works. But once you have generated your HTML template, you can't really modify it all that much. Whereas, because this isn't actually HTML, this is actually generating real like Godot nodes and GDScript stuff, you still have full control over it. It's a very weird idea. But in order to make that work, I do need to do this. It does need to be rewritten to allow for essentially infinite stack size. I think once you get to 2 million like Godot nodes, I think stack size is no longer a consideration. Let's see. I think the stack is good. I should probably write a test for it, but I'm not going to. But cache scripts. I think what this needs... Hold on. Where's my layout? There's my layout. Yeah, okay. So we just add tags. Tag. Tags append. Okay, so everything here should just be tag append. Yeah, okay. So add root tag just does tag append by default. Tags append tag, and then down should also append the tag. Tags append, which is why there wasn't anything in the layout before. Well, testless side on left. Yeah. I think it comes back to just like my programming philosophy of I don't really know what I'm doing. So like writing tests doesn't really help me here. Like for something that makes a lot of sense, you know, like my OBS WebSocket stuff, right? I wrote a bunch of tests while I was writing it because, I mean, it's obvious, right? It's just WebSocket messages. Every single WebSocket message is just JSON. So that's easy to test and verify that, like, okay, like authentication, are we able to parse? Are we able to generate a correct response, etc., etc.? But here, which is parsing XML as HTML and then like manipulating a stack, I'm like, I don't really know how I want this to work. I'm not familiar. I would not call myself an expert on parsing this stuff and doing code generation. So like any test I write is gonna be like I'm basically tagging some functionality to a test that might not be correct. Whereas, you know, JSON, WebSocket communication, that's easy. No problem. That's my bread and butter. So, or even for, was it this application, which doesn't have a proper Windows icon because I keep forgetting to export the builds with it. Yeah, like I know how it should work, so I feel comfortable writing tests. But generator, maybe layouts, I need to rewrite this entire thing. GDML stack should not be parsed in reverse order anymore, but then most of this is now incorrect. Most of this is now operating off of the old logic of recursion, so we don't want to do that anymore. So generate, we will still run through every single tag. Yeah, we'll still run through every single tag, but then, let me see. So we have the super root, which is a control root guaranteed. So there's your super root. Then may or may not have a stack associated with it. So let me grab the stack really quick. Boom, boom. We will load it in here. There's your stack. So stack is null because we may or may not actually have a stack. Okay. Here, generate, we want to cache all the scripts. We want to cache all the scripts, but so that will need to take every single tag that's in layout tags. Yeah. And then we don't need to do any recursion because all tags are on the same level now. So handle script tag, blah, blah. So if tag name is a script or it has constants source, then we'll handle the tag, which is okay. I think that's fine. Generate needs to change. Handle attributes is now not super correct. Tag GD, oh, okay, hold on. We need to reload it now. Because I got too fancy with the classes and all that. Alright, send me. Please fix yourself. Alright, now we have the real error. Let me see. So this should be output, tag, and then I don't know, is there going to be a stack? I suppose that like this should be like the root stack. So we'll always have a stack. Yeah, okay. So this is stack new. Then this takes the super root, which is the output, the GDML root, which is null, and then super stack, which is also null. Yeah. So I should actually change that here, because we might not have a GDML root, and we might also not have a super stack. I think you need an else, don't you? Yeah. It's not null, else. Just to make sure. Just to make sure. Although, I don't know. This is still technically about you. Like, if you set something to null, that's okay. Something that's still null is still null. That's fine, actually. So we don't need to do this anymore since these have sensible presets. Now, error, bum bum. Doesn't cache scripts? Yeah, okay. Error is equal to cache scripts. If error is not okay, then we'll return error. Just bail out as soon as possible. Actually, we can just do it like this. Yeah. So you must provide an output for me. And then, yeah, we'll continue to use it. Looks good to me. All right, so let's start to rewrite this. So you always need to have the super roots, which is the very, very base object. Global roots, if you will. This one, we'll set equal to okay. Return error. Very Golang style. Now we'll have to match on the tag name. And so the cool part here is that now it's just a flat loop. We're not recursing. So we just loop over every single tag instead of storing the tags parent and child. So then we have to jump up or down. So I think that recursion simplifies the logic, but it also causes more indirection if you, I guess, don't plan it right. It's like this is the either like the beginner's way of doing it or the expert way of doing it. Like the intermediate way of doing this kind of generation would be to use recursion. Like a beginner would just think to iterate over every single tag in order, because I don't know, that's just like the easiest way to think about it. But the tail call optimized, that's actually the best solution. It's accidentally the best solution. So let's see. Match against the tag name. This one's pretty easy. So GDML, we'll do the same stuff more or less. So this is a control root new. Control roots. Let's open up the control root and actually set these. Let's see. Set anchors presets. Preset wide. Actually, is preset wide? Set all 4 anchors to the respective corner. Okay, that's fine. Mouse filter ignore. Oh, and then I don't need the set script because this is the script. Okay, cool. Nice. I think that should be valid because this is only called on new. Yeah, okay. So that simplifies things as well. I will need to... Oh, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I forgot what tail call optimization even was. What else have I forgotten? That's okay. I feel like I read a lot of things. And it's like, man, I've heard of that before. But it's, you know, unless I use it immediately, or I use it, if I don't use it immediately, then I won't understand what it means. And if I don't use it often, I'll just forget. So like, you know, I feel like I've told this story before, but I used to work with a lot of regex stuff at work, and I was like, yeah, I'm pretty good at regex now. And now that I haven't done regex for like 3 months, I have no idea how it works anymore. Handle attributes. Handle attributes, this needs to be just a stack, which is the stack. Or like, something that gets me a lot is also like databases. Is like the only things I really remember how to do in databases are dropping tables, and that's pretty much it. Or dropping tables and doing simple queries. Everything else is just like, I don't remember how to do it. I don't know. Usually I just, you know, you call the database helper function that helps you do a thing. But you actually want me to administer a database, I've got bad news for you. I can do 2 things. One of which is useful, the other one is probably going to sink your business. Handle element, so this should be a stack. Might need to rewrite a lot of these. So this is stack. Get stack top. What was it? Get stack top is class node. Remember MySQL stuff, but the other ones not so much. Fair enough, fair enough. I'm actually somewhat surprised about how many people still use MySQL. Considering that MySQL isn't free. It's not free, and there is like a good free alternative, which is MariaDB. It's not like it's like Oracle or SQL Server. Or SQL Server, pretty sick. SQL Server, pretty sick. Hold on. I think I can change this. This is just like stack, right? This is stack add child. Ooh, objects. Yeah. And then it also needs to have, ooh, geez, the depth, which is attached to the tag. Tag, depth. And then there may or may not be an instance descriptor. attached to it. Hold on, that might not be right then. Instance descriptor. No, why should we all use MariaDB? I think my first project ever, it wasn't even with my current company. It was like just like a random consulting firm. They were using like SQL Server, because they were like a Microsoft shop, which is very strange because they had like their own server farm as well. I was like, man, how much do you spend on this stuff? And they're like, yeah, we got grandfathered into like the program, so we just have like it basically like eternal licenses for Microsoft Server like 2000 or Windows Server like 2004. I'm like, man, it's 2018. What the heck? But yeah, they were using SQL Server and using a bunch of like really complicated T-SQL stuff. Yeah, T-SQL, SQL Server, and then Oracle uses P-SQL, but those ones are neat. So here, this one is like I may need to create an instance descriptor. I gotta think about it. So this is stack add child tag depth objects, and then this one might be null. So we'll do if it's like create instance descriptor if not object is class node, else null. Okay. That's horrible. And I love it. That doesn't sound fun at all. Well, yeah, the old Windows Server stuff, horrible. T-SQL, I was like, man, this kind of sucks. But then once I learned like how to use it, I was like, wow, this is actually like super sick. So once I like next project, I had to work with Oracle and a lot of P-SQL. I was like, wow, this is this is still pretty sick. Like I would rather prefer you writing like P-SQL or T-SQL instead of just raw SQL queries in order to insert or whatever. Handle attributes. So what is this looking for? Handle connections. Oh yeah, this needs like a real stack, not just a weird array. Okay, handle attributes probably needs to be rewritten too. I think this is probably fine because this is just stack manipulation. And it's not really, it's not even like real stack manipulation. It's just me like adding things and then just keeping track of their positions. Let's see. This one. Yeah, this is mostly just add child or add instance, which is what the stack handles for me. Handle attributes. I'll just need to look at this later when it inevitably breaks. Yeah, because all of these are actually using stacks. Oh no. Oh, good. So this one, I think this is okay. Generate connect args. What do I even use the stack for here? Handle nested args. Oh, good. And then this requires a stack. So what is... Oh, good. Yeah. Okay, I see. There's a lot of problems. Okay, let's think about how I can rewrite this. This is basically a while loop. And then because it's basically a while loop, and then also because my stack has recursion capabilities, so we can do while not is root stack, Yeah, while not is root stack. So we'll have var our temp stack, which is a stack, right? Is equal to the stack. It's not how you spell stack. So temp stack, because we don't want to overwrite the stack. So while temp stack, or while not temp stack is root stack, then we'll do temp stack get stack root. Yeah, get stack root. I was gonna change it to just root and then change this on the top, but that could be problematic when I move over to Godot 4 eventually. Because in Godot 4, function names are treated the same as variables. So if I don't think root would be a problem, but I think it's just better to be verbose. It's better to be verbose than not verbose enough. But that might just be like the Java developer mindset. So get root stack, and then we'll find and connect key object value args. And then find and connect, we can check the error. So error is against this. If error is okay, then that's okay, right? We'll break. Otherwise, temp stack is equal to temp stack get super stack. Get super stack. Yeah, look at that. Oh wait, isn't this backwards? Isn't this backwards? No, well, this isn't backwards, but this is kind of wrong. Yeah, it's not backwards, but it's wrong. So this should just be like while true. And then I just need to make sure not to infinitely recurse at any point. Easier said than done. But I hope that this kind of weird layout should prevent that from happening. So GDML, 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 GDML. So super nested GDML layouts, and then just this other random one. So hopefully that's okay. So while true, here we can just do a check. So if temp stack is, what is it called? Root stack is root stack. Then we'll also just break. Wait a minute. I think that's okay, yeah? Or we could do like while temp stack is not null. Yeah, okay. I guess that's almost the same thing, isn't it? Oh no. Hello. Gym of Leisure, thank you very much for the raid. Thanks for the warning, Nova. How was your stream? I suppose I should actually show off what I'm trying to work on. So we will stash my changes, and by stash I mean, well, yeah, we'll stash it. And by stash it I mean I can't stash an untracked file. All right, you can, but let's not complicate things. Let me show off what I'm working on. Refactor generator at all. But hello. What I'm working on is a very complicated piece of code for Godot. Because I wrote this thing, by the way. I'm rewriting it. So the UI system for this is configured entirely via XML, but it's very limited. So what I'm doing is making so the UI is entirely driven by XML, and it's very JavaScript style. So scripts are hoisted, available within function scopes, etc., etc. So it's, well, what if we did our UIs in HTML, but still inside Godot? Add back stack, start rewriting generator. Git check out. All right, I think this should be okay. So please, okay, there we go. Try not strappy, a headless CMS, content management system is the only UI I feel at all worthwhile with. Yeah, Godot's UI, if you have any experience with Godot, I'm not sure if you do, but Godot's UI system takes a little bit to wrap your head around, which is why, that's actually not why I'm rewriting this in like HTML style, but I just thought it'd be cool. So here you can see that I've generated a bunch of UI nodes based off of this XML file here. And then we look at the remote. There's our GDML, which stands for GD Scripts Markup Language. And yeah, here we go. We have pretty much everything that we could want. I believe. Oh, this is actually a bug, I think. No, it's not. No, there are 3 buttons here. Yeah. We can press them, and we can observe in the console, if I can find it. This is the console. Ignore the errors. Look at that. So we are connected to button down. And all of that was kind of parsed from the XML file here. Look at that. So this is using Godot's built-in connections. So we have pressed, button down, etc. So button down is, if you hover, and then pressed is if you hover, button down, button up. Look at that. We're also able to store internal states. So you have like test 3, test 7, test 12, and then there's also just the internal counter as well. So it's very Angular style in how it handles callbacks. So press, and then we can specify a script, specify a function. So built-in script is down here. You can also have anonymous scripts. You can override scripts. So this is built-in script. This is also a built-in script, but we never saw not expected, which is good. You can pass arguments and then cast them as well, since there's no way for me to know what the argument is without casting, I guess. I suppose I could just assume, but it's better to cast. So you can pass in the element itself. So this is a reserved word. You can specify another script and then specify the variable on the script. You can specify just another script entirely to pass in, etc. So that's what was returned here, because that's what onPress does. And yeah, I see that you have found this. This is written in Godot as well. Everything is hooked up to Twitch, so if you ever type in chat, you can see your things kind of scroll by, etc., etc. Everything is free and open source. I don't remember if my bot is running. My bot went down because the hosting site broke. But there are links on my profile. We'll just do it manually. So overlay written in Godot. The VTuber thingy written in Godot supports fancier things like this. Please don't break. It always makes me nervous when it's loading stuff in. It's like, man, I have bad memories trying to figure out how this stuff works. So I wrote this. We'll just switch back to the duck though. I think the duck is slightly more popular. OpenCFace GD. Yes, that is That is it, because the face tracker that it uses is called OpenCFace. I did not write OpenCFace. I know almost nothing about face tracking. I know enough about machine learning to know that it's tough. It's tough, and I don't have the patience for it. I briefly tried that, but the duck got really concordant. I couldn't get the eyes or mouth to work. So what you could do if you're trying out a really old build of it, it didn't have any of the pop-ups to tell you what the controls were. But there are controls on the README. But yeah, basically the defaults. Let me see if I can kind of emulate what the default would look like. This is what the default looks like, because that's how the data comes to me from the face tracker. I try to assume when we start getting real data from you, and then I try to zero out your facial positions and eyes and whatever. But you just gotta press space. And there is now a pop-up that was added in, I think, 2 releases ago, just to tell you, like, hey, press space. Because everyone's webcam is a little bit different. Yeah, the duck, it's kind of a bad reference because it uses a lot of custom scripting as well. I think I should probably actually bundle in the default Alicia model, which is, you can find it here. I can find it. OpenCFace, assets, VRM models. This one. Oh, so it's a new one. So these ones should just work out of the box as long as you just continue to press space. One of these. Oh, you're the author? Yes, I am the author, yes. I am the author, which is why I know so much about it. This is true. Turn down the light. Or is it the light, or is it the environment? Is it the energy? Press space. Yeah, there we go. It's a little too bright. There we go. Cool, yeah. No, I'm just talking as if I wrote it. I'm not the author, I'm just talking as if I wrote it, and then I'm being extremely condescending towards it as well. But yes, I am the author. I should probably change my Twitch username to be something closer to it. Actually, no, I think I tried it before, but uwin was taken. Just like uwin was also taken on GitHub, which is why I put a dash in between my name. Yeah, it is undergoing a big rewrites. So, you know, as previously mentioned, the entire GUI is configured via XML, like this. And so you might notice a similarity between these two things. So that's what I'm doing right now, though. As I'm making this as a completely standalone because other people might find it useful. But that's the plan. This is the last thing that's needed before I can. Oh, did it crash? Oh, this happens sometimes. Kill this. Yeah, okay, hold on. I forgot I was still running something, so you will usually break a bunch of stuff. Bring me back. Yeah. So what I showed off was the previous functionality that was running via recursion. So, oh, and thank you very much for the follow, by the way. The previous example, or the previous thing that I was showing off of this kind of scuffed UI program, it was running via recursion, so it just recurses in and on itself. But Godot has a max stack size of, or a call stack size of 1024. So I am tail call optimizing it so that we just access every single tag via basically pointer. And then I pre-calculate the tag depth. So Like this would be tag depth 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, etc. And of course, because it's XML, it doesn't really matter. I guess the formatting of your scripts doesn't really matter as long as the text is formatted correctly, and then your attributes are formatted correctly. So yeah, I think this could be cool. This could be cool. And also another cool part about this is that it's not just a UI library, because you can, you know, you don't have to just use UI nodes. You can just use anything that extends node in Godot. So you could write like entire games like this. I don't know why you would want to, but the idea of writing games entirely in like this super weird, almost like early 2000s internet style like JavaScript format, I think it's pretty cool. We're going places game devs don't usually go into. Let's see. A lot of things should be broken here. So this is GDML and GDML stack. We need to get rid of this. Find the actual instance. So do I have this in the stack? Stack. So find instance. Okay, so I can copy the thing here. So this is just like find in stack, basically. But this is finding an instance, whereas this is just trying to find and connect something to a stack root. So let's see. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of problem solving. Not too much visual stuff, because technically the visual stuff already works. So it's just refactoring. Everyone loves refactoring, right? That's why I'm never allowed to do it at work. Temp stack. So this is just the stack because we don't want to override it. Then while temp stack is not null. var error is equal to temp stack get stack root, because you'll always have a root. Yeah, you'll always have a root stack. That's fine. Thinking then it's just find instance, isn't it? Find instance class split. So the parsing that has to go on here is very complicated. Because for something that's as complicated as this, I need to, you know, first split on the period. If there is no period, then we just assume that this is just a function name. And so then we need to look inside the current scope and any super scopes for that function to connect against. If there is a period, then we have a class name that we need to find. So then we do the same thing, look in the current scope, super scope, etc. for that instance to find the function. And then we need to parse every single argument that we would want to even pass to that callback. And then we need to parse every single argument here, because some of these we just don't know what they are, right? So like some of these, like self-obvious, would be the containing elements. This one, built-in scripts, you know, same logic. We need to look in the current scope, upper scopes for this object, and then we need to find this variable that exists on that object, which is just really complicated. Which is why I'm trying to rewrite this to be a lot cleaner. Head off for the evening, kind of headachy. I'm sorry for causing you a headache. Don't worry, I'm causing myself a headache as well. Haha. The rest of your dev session is fruitful and fun. We'll see if we can have fun. We'll see if we can have fun. The fun part is when it works. The unfun part is everything else. The unfun part is everything else. So we're looking for an instance. So this one, find instance. Assign value does not have a set type, so this is an integer. If error is okay, then whatever. Because that means that we found... No, that's not true. Find instance. Find instance. This is on control root. Already have this open here. So find instance. Oh yeah, this isn't return an error. So if instance is not null, then we'll break. Yeah, and then we'll do temp stack is equal to temp stack get super stack. And so we'll just look through every single super stack looking for the instance. We will not check every specific stack for the instance though. So we'll only look for the stack root and see if the stack root has the node that we're looking for. So that could be kind of complicated, actually. Maybe I should have a function on stack that allows me to search inside the stack as well. So like it's for I'm thinking about it. So what if this built-in script, what if you wanted to like refer to like one of these elements, then you would need to search inside the actual stack, right? Yeah, you would actually need to look inside the real stack for the elements if you wanted to like because you can attach a script like this as well. So VBox container, this is technically valid, right? Because this script will just be attached to its containing node. So if you have multiple scripts at a nested level, you know, the first script will apply, and then a second script will just overwrite the first script, which is kind of weird, but, you know, not my problem. Yeah. These are the rules. Let's think. Yeah, I need a way to search inside the stack as well. So every object, yeah, I can do like a search stack. Search stack for name. Search stack for name. All of these are like stack manipulation methods, but then this one is like find name in stack. Yeah. So text string, because name is usually a reserved word. We return an object because you can never have like a script. It doesn't make any sense for me to just push a GD script onto the stack, so I can guarantee that everything will be at least an object. It will not be a GD script. It will not be any sort of script objects, and it will also not be a primitive. Wait. So we'll do for I in stack if I get name is equal to text. That might not be correct. That might that's tough. That's actually pretty tough. That's pretty tough. Because you can define a name on an object, like just a name variable, and then that would break this. I'm thinking. So on any node, name is actually a reserved word, but on objects and references, you can still define name as a variable. You know what? That's not my problem. Return I. I'll also return null. I think that's okay. So if I get name is equal to text, I don't think you can compare. Yeah, you can't compare null against string because that will usually break, I think. Well, you might be able to. Maybe I'm misremembering. Let's see, we'll do a stack-wide search beforehand. So one search stack for instance. Oh, actually, we need to do both of these at the same time, right? So instance is equal to temp stack find name in stack. So we'll also just look for class bit 0, and we'll do the same thing. Otherwise, yeah. So we look for an instance inside of the stack root. If we find something, then cool, we stop searching. Otherwise, we'll look inside the current stack. If we find something, when we break. Otherwise, we look inside the super stack. So everything here, GDML is its own stack. So every time we encounter a GDML tag, we create a new stack in order to track like hierarchies. Because GDML is a special node that contains just random script instances. So it's actually not guaranteed that they will exist. And it also helps with function scoping as well. I guess super stack, blah, blah. If instance is null, then we weren't able to find it. And then I think that's okay. Yeah. Handle cast, don't need that. Stack, that's probably fine. Here, handle connections. We need to do the same thing here. No. Find and connect. I think that might be something I can implement here. So we'll do something similar. We can do var instance, or stack instance, right? Stack instance is equal to temp stack find name in stack. So it's, we're looking for, what does find and connect? What does find and connect to? Find and connect. So it's looking for the signal name, a node, a callback name. Oh, I remember. Yeah, okay, so I cannot reuse this. So it's like find signal in stack. Find signal in stack. Signal name. We'll just call it text, right? For I in stack, if I has signal text, or I has user signal, which is something that I didn't realize actually existed. I've talked about this before, but you can actually add signals at runtime, which is really cool. Which is how the rewrites of this application actually works. So there are almost no signals defined at compile time for the rewrites. Mostly because like it's just a pain, right? Having to keep track of all kinds of random configuration stuff, especially if you want like a reactive UI. So if you want like things to populate or propagate immediately after you toggle something, it's tough. It's tough. You need to make like a design decision somewhere. So like, is your UI centrally managed? Then then it's not too hard. If your UI doesn't really store state, it's not centrally managed, like this one is not centrally managed, then you need to connect everything to its appropriate, I guess, callbacks, which is tough. So if I do it programmatically though, that's the dream. That's the dream. Find object for signal in stack. So then we'll do find object for signal in stack. We're looking for control roots. This is finding, that's find and connect. Signal name key. Key is the key. Handle connections. God, why did I call this key? This is the signal. If stack instance is not null, then we'll do stack instance. Then what do I do here in finding connects? So if stack instance is connected, let me see, it's key, or is connected, key object value r, oh wait, we don't need args. Error is equal to, where are my errors? Generator, signal, no signal found. This is more like signal already connected. So this is error code, one of these, yeah. Otherwise, stack instance, connect, key object, value args. And then error is equal to OK in true Golang fashion, even though this is not related to Golang at all. So error is equal to OK, blah, blah. Yeah, I think that's okay. So this allows me to, one, look inside the stack root, try to connect against an instance that's registered there, and then also allows me to just look inside every single node and see if it's possible to connect that node. Find and connect. I feel like this is wrong though. Something feels bad about this. So find and connect, signal, node, callback, and then args. So find object for signal in stack. So this is looking for, God, I hate this name. Signal name. Has signal name. Signal name. Beautiful. Then value is actually the callback. So I'll change this everywhere as well. Yeah. Callback. Could do a find and replace, but I don't know how to do a find and replace for just a specific selection of lines, although I could totally look that up. I'm not going to though. So I guess this is node name. I need to stop using like shorthand. It's starting to like break my brain because I'll come back to it. Like I wrote this yesterday, I've already forgotten. I don't think I can expect myself to understand how it works in like a week or even a month when I eventually have to come back to it. So I think this is good. I think that's good. Let me see. Script handler, that's probably fine. Handle attributes, yeah. Okay. Okay. All right, let's do the rest. So handle attributes. So we attach a bunch of stuff to the GDML instance. Stack. No, this is actually a new stack. Yeah. So var. Call it just the new stack, right? All right. Var inner stack is equal to stack new. Super root is the super root, obviously. GDML is the GDML roots. Then the super stack is the current stack. Yeah, there we go. Beautiful. So we'll always pass in our super roots to the stack because we need to know what the global scope is, basically. I actually don't think I need that, but since I'm always passing in the other stack, but it's just nice to have. I can take it out later. Okay, but now we need to hoist scripts. Yeah, we should hoist the scripts. So if you define something in a script tag here, then that means that it's going to be processed as an instance on GDML. Yeah. So if you don't want that to happen, then you need to define them directly on the node like this. Not like this, like this. So this one has a script that extends VBox container, and all it will do is print hello VBox. I think I demonstrated that before. So it does work. Let's see. Let's hoist the scripts. This one can be kind of tough. This one can be kind of tough because I need to keep track of the depth, and then yeah, because I cannot use recursion here, unfortunately. So let's see. Let me think. Maybe if I change this so it's like visited tags. Visited tags. Or visited locations, right? Visited locations, which is an array. Okay. Here, we'll just pass in an empty array like that. And so every time we pretty much go anywhere, right? For every single tag that we process, we will add it to visited locations. I don't see any HTML in there. How about this? How about this? Does this make you feel a lot better about the HTML part? And it's, you know, by the way, it's HTML style. It's not actual HTML. It does work. I'm not going to switch back off this branch. I am rewriting the entire thing so it's tail call optimized so that we can, you know, we can handle like depths of up to 2 million as opposed to just depths of up to 1,000. And so the impetus for that is because, you know, this is almost like Ruby style, like Ruby on Rails style, is that you can write something like this and then just write some GD script to be like, you know, for I in 3, you know, inserts, you know, label, something like that, right? And so you could do some like pre-processing logic before I actually start parsing it. So you can build out UIs based off of some other logic. That code looks very complicated. It is very, very complicated. It's extremely complicated, actually. It might actually be more complicated than the Lisp I wrote. Which I wrote here. Check this out, GD Lisp. I think the parser for GD Lisp wasn't too hard because Lisps are already more or less pre-parsed. I suppose you can take a look here. I guess you can't look at my dashboard, but I did write a Lisp in GDScript as well, so you can try that out. It's under GDLisp REPL. Don't play any of the early games. It's tough though. It's tough. It's tough. Everything is free and open source though, so if you want to see what the previous version of this looked like, it is there. It is here. But okay, so we need to hoist every single script at this point in time. So visited locations. So every time we parse a tag, we need to add it to the visited locations. Visited locations, append, tag location. What does pivot do? Let's see. I get that question a lot. Well, I guess it's not actually self-explanatory. Since it's kind of, it uses slang. So it just means, like, if you want me to do something else, yeah, that's pretty much it. It's the only reward that I have that I can actually reject, but I think if it's reasonable, yeah, I'll pivot. Yeah, why not? Because it means that you've hung around for enough time to, you know, be able to spend the meme number of points. Yeah, if you want me to just start doing something else, I will switch to that within my given allotted time. So my schedule is in the description, I think. So I guess, like, if you wanted me to start playing Elden Ring, hint hint. I could do that. So I think I still need to continue parsing. Oh no, this is tough because I actually don't have access to the next tags. I could try. I guess, like, the hoist is the only part where I would need to recurse, huh? Maybe. Yeah, I guess this is the only part where I actually need to recurse. So there's visited locations, and then also just the tags array. Yeah, this is kind of confusing. What do you think about the new Spectre malware? Is there new Spectre malware? I know that there was the new vulnerability that came out, or that was released, that was based off of page cache writes. There's not new Spectre malware, is there? Spectre malware. I don't think there's a new one, is there? Well, do you have a link? The newest one was a page cache write, and it was called something like dirty something, right? So, like, recent Linux kernel vulnerability. It was, what was it? It was like dirty something. I forget. Yeah, it was this one, 9 to 5 Linux. What was it called? Wasn't it? It was called dirty something. I don't remember though. No, this is canonical. Red Hat had one as well. Search Spectre malware new 2020. Is this a? I suppose that's okay. New variants of Spectre. March 10th. Okay, cool. I have not seen this. That's neat. Cool. I don't know. Isn't, like, I'm not super worried about, like, Spectre and whatever. I actually, You know, considering that I work for like a Linux company, probably not something I should be advertising, but I usually I turn off those mitigations on my own computers. Not my work computer. My work computer can be as slow as whatever. But, you know, Spectre and Meltdown, whatever, you need like actual access to the computer. So like I guess if you want to hack into my computer, go for it. If you manage to steal my computer, then yeah, check it out. You can steal all my open source projects, which are already on GitHub. Congratulations. The only thing that you would get is my like SSH token or my SSH key. But if I ever lose my computer, guess what? I'm disallowing that key. Let me see. I guess if I do it, if I change how this works entirely, right? So I don't need to do this part. I can just instead do everything inside of the generate function. So yeah, I can do everything in the generate function. Or actually, I don't even need to do like in a separate generate function. I can just do it here. So then everything will still be in scope. Is VirtualBox secure? It depends on whether or not you have the software mitigation enabled, I suppose. So VirtualBox is just like another computer that's inside your computer, right? So like if you're sharing your VirtualBox instance with other people, then no, it's not secure. But I suppose like if you're sharing the instance at all, it's already not secure. So it doesn't matter. Yeah, let's take this out. So, yeah, let's just write this all in line, right? Match tag name. We'll do all of this stuff. And then when we start hoisting stuff, that's where this starts being really interesting. Var visited locations. Like that. Handle attributes. We should have our super stack virtualization enabled. What do you mean virtualization is... What do you mean? What do you mean? Virtualization enabled? So I do have virtualization enabled on my computer. I don't believe... I think you can turn on virtualization in VirtualBox. It's kind of weird, though. Definitely kind of weird. Hold on. I think I'm sensing a problem with how I've done this before. So is this is the old version that still used the stack. Okay. So handle GDML. Is enabling virtualization secure? No, but... Well, it depends, right? In general, no. The more like capabilities that you open up on your computer, the more possible attack vectors you have, which is why SC Linux exists, right? SC Linux says like, oh, like you're not supposed to do this. Like it's a possible attack vector, but you don't know. So it's a bunch of just general security rules that should hopefully, you know, even if there is a vulnerability discovered here, you know, whatever. Right? Like, it's not something that lots of people use. So if you're not using it, we'll just block it off. So is virtualization insecure? Probably not, but I'm also not a security expert. I'm not a kernel developer. I mostly just work in automation and like containerization, etc., etc. I'm thinking about this, by the way. Isn't virtualization used in antivirus? I don't know, maybe. I don't think so. Right, because you don't actually need to... I'm pretty sure antivirus just runs on your computer. On a secure part of your file system. That's presumably read-write protected. Yeah, I don't know. I don't work in antivirus either. Maybe antivirus uses virtualization behind the scenes. I don't know. Asking a lot of hard to answer questions that you would probably be better off asking a dedicated security expert. It has a virtualization feature. Well, it has, yeah, so if it has a virtualization feature, sure. I don't know. Maybe. The best answer I have is maybe. It doesn't sound correct to me, but maybe it does use virtualization. Like, I guess you got me. You have asked me a question about a topic I don't know too much about, and I was wrong. So, sorry, I will study for the pop quiz harder next time. No, I think I do need to do it like this. I think I do need to do it like this. So we have the stack, we have the visited locations, and we can also pass the layout tags as well. That's how I did this? Yeah. Yeah, okay. This is how I did the hoisting before. So I just looked for I started processing using pointers. That's tough. So the super root might be needed. Tag almost certainly needed. Thinking. I'm thinking. There's a good way to design this. I'm just not sure yet. Oh, hello, Oberon. Hello. How are you doing tonight? I am working on this once again, so I suppose sorry if you wanted something more visual. Because I'm trying to refactor it. So it currently does work, but it needs to be better. We can do better. Good, how about you? I'm doing alright. Work has been pretty slow, but what else is new? Like, I don't know, I feel like every single consultant, because I work as a consultant, a professional services consultant, so I'm not independent, but I feel like every single consultant is just lying about how busy they are. Because it's like, I don't really do all that much, I guess. Like I locked out of most of the stuff that I need in order to do my job. So I'm just like, I'm blocked, sorry. I wasn't just sitting on my hands though, I was reading the code. But of course, reading code doesn't actually do all that much. Reading code, possibly one of the most useless things you can do, in my opinion. Like, unless you need, like, a very specific answer. Like, reading code doesn't do anything for you. In my opinion. Maybe if you have, like, a photographic memory, but I 100% do not. So I can pass along the layouts. along with the... I can pass along the tags, right? So tags, which is an array. We can pass along the index, which is an int. And then var tag is tags index. And then we'll match against all of this. Yeah, so we can pass along just a bunch of stuff. It's kind of complicated though. It's kind of really complicated. So I think this still uses recursion, which that was like the main thing I was trying to avoid, but you know, things happen. All right, so there's your super root. Here are your layout tags. This should be layout tags size, and then this is I. Boom, boom. Visited locations. Empty array, because we'll be passing that along. So for dinner, I made a homemade Salisbury steak. For the first time, it was good. What is a Salisbury steak? And what differentiates it from like other steaks? Let's drink some water instead of just getting more and more inebriated. Thank you very much for redeeming the hydrate, by the way. Suppose Salisbury steak is one of those things I could totally Google, but I'm not going to. Yeah, so what this does... Okay, so var visited tags. Boom. So we'll pass this along, or visited locations. Yeah, so I'm assuming a Salisbury steak, it's like a... trying to think. Some sort of beef product, clearly. How is it cooked? I'm assuming it's not like cooked like a regular steak. Is it like stewed? I don't know where Salisbury is, but I'm assuming it's some sort of stewed steak. Is this ground beef patty shaped like steak par cooked? What's par cooked? All right, Salisbury steak. Let's Salisbury steak. Salisbury steak. What is Salisbury steak? Cross between meatloaf and a hamburger patty. Okay. All recipes? Oh, geez. Don't do it. Then simmered in brown grape and after it's done cooking, after about 2 hours, put on a bed of mashed potatoes. Okay, so it's just like a... It's like a meatloaf that you don't bake, basically. Or it's like a... Oh, this is like a This is just like a fancy hamburger patty, isn't it? It's basically like a fancy hamburger patty, essentially. That's plated differently. Like you don't eat it on a bun, but you totally could. Isn't this is close to like the Japanese, like a Hamburg steak, yeah? It's like a Hamburg steak. Yeah, except I guess a Hamburg steak is different. Oh, Hamburg steak is just a Salisbury steak. Okay. Cool. Salisbury steak is, I suppose, the American version. And then the Hamburg steak is like Hamburg? So like the German and or Japanese version, depending on whether or not you're a weeaboo or a... Isn't there a name for like being super into German stuff? I suppose that's more into like World War II culture, but where Mabu? Something like that. I don't know how to pronounce Wehrmacht. I don't speak any German. Okay, cool. You know, I've never realized that, but yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So visited locations. These are the tags. These are the tags. Visited locations, and then it's only the. Actually, the stack doesn't really change either, but it could. Yeah. Time for dinner just made beef nachos. Nice. I have not eaten anything today. I have just been eating. I had some raisins a little earlier. I've been eating like some salted party peanuts from Publix. Don't know if they have Publix up where you are. I know that Publix is more like a Florida. It's a more of a southeast kind of grocery store chain. But yeah, and I suppose also have been sipping on some whiskey as well. So, you know, basically, I'm a well-adjusted individual. I just had to take my word for it. So I gotta think about this because whenever we step into a new context, we need to. Oh no, this is tough, man. I gotta think about this. This is kind of tough because I want this so it's more or less tail call optimized, or it's tail call as tail call optimized as possible. But I live in Florida. I know what a Publix is. All right, well there we go. I don't know. I don't keep tabs on where you live or whatever. You know, not everyone knows what a Publix is. Just like I was surprised, like when I was working out of Texas, like almost no one knew what a Publix was. But then people are like, "Yeah, we're going to go to HEB later." I'm like, "Oh, what the heck is an HEB?" Oh, it's the grocery store chain. Oh, okay. It's the grocery store chain. Yeah, haven't spent too much time in the Northeast or West Coast or Pacific Northwest, so I'm not sure what grocery store chains they have over there. Let me see. I'm thinking about what I want to do here because I have the tags. I don't want to recurse too often. So like, but these stacks could potentially, or they're designed so they can recurse, but maybe that's not the correct. Maybe that's not the correct. You know what? Yeah, I need to redesign this, because this stack thing is designed for recursion. But I don't think that's correct. I need to think about this. But I am over time. So thanks for tuning in. I'll be live tomorrow from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern time working on this again. You know, I have like meetings now, so I can't go super overtime anymore. But yeah, I think my bot is still offline, unfortunately. Yeah, my bot is still offline, but there's a Discord. Everything is like in my description. I need to move my bot over to DigitalOcean instead of just hosting it in Replit. Yeah. Is there anything else I need to say? No, that's pretty much it. Nothing really to show for roughly 2 hours of work, but that's fine. Business as usual, more or less. Yeah. Anyways, goodbye.